Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
We're already here. Good evening and welcome to the Chaska City Council meeting for Monday, October 15th. We'll call the meeting to order at 7 o'clock. Will you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to tonight's meeting. Nate, will you go ahead and call roll for us, please?
Yes, Councilmember Schultz.
Here.
Councilmember Bowe. Here. Councilmember Giesler.
Here.
Mayor Winchell.
Sorry about that.
Trying to fix the fact that we don't have feedback this time?
Yeah. How's that, Mike? How's that back there for you?
He didn't unfix it, did he?
All right.
Great.
I'm going to break our order here a minute and just talk about an unfortunate situation we had this weekend and offer condolences to the Abdullah and Abdi family for the loss of their young children, as I'll call them. I believe they were 19, but such a sad event that happened, and just such a challenge on our emergency services, and we're so fortunate to have such great emergency services that was able to take care of the issue with respect and dignities to the family, because it's always hard when there's young children. And this particular incident, this night, made it even more challenging because the families of these two young girls were at Fireman's Park, actually, and were preparing to go out and do leaflet drops for people to help them locate them. And there was also news channels there, and I believe, I mean, it's only a guess, but probably through scanners, they heard the fire department and police get the call. And so they arrived on the scene about the same time as the fire department did, and additional police staffing. And when you have that amount of people that are family and friends, everybody wants to know what's happening and what's going on, and is this the vehicle? And I just think that our police and fire department handled this situation to a T. I mean, they handled everything. They got the family separated from the friends. They got the media in a location where they could update them and brief them. They came in later as they were able to get things under control and got shelter for the family. It's amazing how that they were able to pull all those resources together in such a stressful operation that one like that is. And all the while, you know, the good thing is we don't always have to go there because we're getting the updates, and that's the important part, is that we let them do their business. And I know from being in the fire service, you appreciate that, and I think I'll probably get a nod from the two chiefs. It's nice that we're not there and have to be, you know, updated on what's going on, and they just, you know, we get those occasional updates, and just in case if things like that were to happen. So, but again, on behalf of the city of Chaska and all of us here, again, we just offer our condolences to the Abdallah and Abdi families. Just such a tragic loss, and it appears to be a traffic accident at this time and nothing more than that. And you know, I know it's still an active investigation, and when it's final, we'll get the exact words. So thank you to our, and we actually have both the police chief and fire chief here. So please share with your staff the great job that you guys did in controlling that. I mean, there was, you know, I realized they were residents of Shakopee, so Shakopee was involved. It's a state highway, so you got state patrol. And, you know, we have to get a dive team there, and there's so many resources that are needed, and they're able to pull all those together and work so well together. So thank you to you guys for what you do. It's not easy when you go home at night sometimes. And then on top of that, our fire department had a large fire 2 hours later. We're up the rest of the night at an apartment fire. So it's just some of the things that people don't realize that happens in our community. And so again, it's just, I mean, it works out well that you're both here, so thank you, and some of your staff are here, so thank you guys for everything you do. it's greatly appreciated from us here at the city, so thank you very much.
You know, Mr. Mayor, obviously a huge thank you to both the police and the fire and all there were multiple agencies there, so huge thank you to the agencies who showed up and are part of it. One person in particular I want to point out is Officer Joe Campbell, who is in the back. He really started this and led us down the road to getting to have a resolution on this. I know he views it as this is just my job, this is what I do, I get called to a call and that's what I do. But I told him today, it's more than that. It is something that makes our community who they are. I told these guys that, you know, when I heard on the news last night, the reporter on WCCO say that, just real briefly, that they put up a tent for the family. I just knew that's who they are. And I'm just not convinced that you would see that everywhere else to get it down to saying, you know, guys, we need to get a tent for the family. We need to provide them peace, security, shelter, warmth, and dignity. And these guys did it to an absolute T. And they deserve huge, huge recognition for that. So I just wanted to make sure we pointed out Joe Cavalier, because if not for his response, this family may not they probably would not know where their family members are, and it could have been a very, very long search. So thank you.
I didn't see you back there. Thank you, Joe. Hiding back there. I don't know if anyone else from the council, you're more than welcome to speak on behalf. If not, we can move on. But
No, I think you said it very well. A very challenging, difficult time for the families, obviously, and the city is you know, condolences are just a shadow, just a small part of what we'd like to say and do. But you know, it's an unfortunate time, and as a city, we can be very proud, I think, of how we've stepped forward to work through this.
I agree. It's my deepest condolences to the families. Can't be easy. And they resolved it so quickly that's a saving grace, like Matt had said, just to cut down on the time of worry and the not knowing. And I'm really proud of the teams that were out there. There's just so many different agencies that helped, and ours were front and center, and such a wonderful response to a tragic event. Got it hard.
It's heartening to see how the different agencies work very well together too. So that's good to know.
Same, like I said, you know, it's, can't be said any better, but condolences to the families, absolutely. And again, thank you to our staff and members of our two departments that helped find a resolution to this for the families. I can't even begin to imagine what they're going through at this point in time in their lives, and it can only be difficult, and wish them both the best.
it's never easy to hear sometimes the answer, but they have closure now, and that's the challenging part of this. But they do have closure, and they can move forward and move forward with the rest of their lives, whatever they, you know, however it may be. But they have closure now. There's no more guessing where they are. So,
Yep.
All right. We'll try to get back on track here now, but I wanted to make sure that got taken care of before we moved any further into things, while we have the appropriate people here.
Thanks for taking time for that.
So we'll try to shift gears here and go back to, and well, let's move to item number 4. We'll adopt the agenda. Corrections or additions to the agenda? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion by Councilmember Bo.
I'll second that.
Second by Councilmember Geisler to adopt the agenda. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Pose same sign. One other thing I want to just touch on in case someone hasn't seen a council meeting or whatever, Councilmember Rowe has resigned, so that seat will be open until, and actually we have, you can apply for that open seat at this point till the October 31st. October 31st. And then there'll be a process and with, hopefully with any luck, depending how things work out, we'll have somebody reappointed by the end of November. So, so just again, just wanted to, I forgot to touch on that before, so.
Just real quick on that. So we are, depending on the number of applicants we receive, at least the plan now is the first week of November sometime. Maybe on the night of the council meeting, maybe not, to have the interviews. And then, you know, we obviously want to make sure it's a night that everybody's here. But I know that's going to be an issue for you, but we'll find a time.
You know, if there's something that we can arrange via phone call potentially.
Or potentially a special meeting.
Yeah.
So we'll figure something out. I want to make sure you guys are all here. But generally, around November 19th is when we'd be aiming to have the appointment ready for you guys to consider.
And then that person would come on board December then?
They'd literally come on board immediately.
I mean, they would come on at that meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Boy, we better have Luke here, though. He's, since the legend has been in the paper, we better make sure that he swears in the next council member.
Really, I think at the point at which he's been appointed, there's no reason why.
Yeah, I suppose that is the case.
Yep. Yeah, they just need to take the oath, and then, so we'll be prepared for all that. But just so people know, generally around that, and, you know, I've had people ask the question is, you know, why not wait till after the election? Why not, you know, one of the things that becomes, and we already ran into it tonight, one of the things that becomes really difficult, especially when you have a part-time council, you guys all have jobs, and, you know, people travel, well, except for you. So when people travel, like tonight, we have an agenda item on that the mayor's going to have to recuse himself. And so even to have a quorum, we need to have 3 people, and making sure that all of you guys are here. We can't have one person gone to be able to take action. And realistically, if we waited till after the first of the year, you're talking about a 4-month period there where we're going through that. And we could have some important decisions that really require having people, because, you know, Luke brought up the fact that there's certain actions we take that based on 4 people in the council, it would require not just a majority, it would require all 4 of you to vote in the same direction. And so it's a workable situation, but in the long term, it's as short a time period as we can have where that's the case, the better.
Okay. All right, we are going to go ahead and move to visitor presentation. I'm going to go with what I have here, and really the only one, I know that there's others here, but what I have on here is the Bountiful Basket Food Shelf with Karen Campbell and Stacy Ward. If you would come on up and just say your name so somebody that might not know who's who.
Okay, I'm Stacy Ward. And I'm Karen Campbell. After the weekend tragedy, it seems so minute to come here. Thank you for the work that you've done to support the Bountiful Basket. But that's what we're here to do today, to thank you for allowing us to come with an update and to thank you for your ongoing support. Both Karen and I have served on the Bountiful Basket Food Shelf Board for several years, and I just want to give you some Bountiful Basket by the numbers. We serve about 1,200 people per month. And over the last 5 years, the number of clients have remained about the same. Just as some clients have no longer have a need, some clients experience food insecurity every month, so that ebbs and flows. And about 30,000 pounds of food is provided for our clients each month. Our primary partners consist mostly of congregations that assist us with food donations, collaborations, and getting the word out to people in need. The Bountiful Basket was instrumental in bringing Fare for All to our community. Fair for All is community supported and open to everyone. More people who participate, the more savings are passed on to customers. The customers are able to purchase food packs such as meat, produce, or a combination pack. And we have an amazing partnership with the Crown of Glory Church, and each month they host and pack or do the food pack distribution. The Lodge is also a great partner as a drop-off site for the Bountiful Basket, and we also continue our partnership with the CAP agency. Our biggest expenditures each year include food that we purchase from Second Harvest and the Food Group, as well as the rent that we pay to the city of Chaska for the building. And currently we're getting ready for our biggest fundraiser, the Neighbors That Care Share, which runs from November through January. The one thing I want to point out too is the Bountiful Basket food shelf is unique and it is 100% managed and operated by volunteers. John Meyer and Jerry Glander amaze me with the countless hours they put in at the food shelf. And just to wrap up, please let us know if you feel that we're missing anything or if there's anything that the City Council is interested in doing to support us or the clients at the food shelf. Thank you for your time this evening.
Very good.
Thank you. Well, thank you for your work. I know that is, I mean, it's obvious with the numbers that we're helping that it's definitely something that's needed. And it's not really our community, it's our whole area that it's servicing. So thank you for all you do. It's a lot of work to go out and try to get all of those supplies and to get them. And then I would imagine it's rather rewarding giving them out. But it's a lot of work, and I know there's a lot of volunteers that spend a lot of time doing that. So thank you guys for what you do. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
I never worry if we're missing something, because Karen will not let me leave a room if she hasn't spoke her mind to me about it.
What? Karen? Karen? Speak her mind?
It was Karen.
No.
That's okay. Thank you, Matt.
Karen, way to keep him on his toes.
And I know several people who volunteer there who really enjoy the experience that is volunteering. You know, and it's the need is great, but as the mayor said, so is the satisfaction in being part of the solution too. So thanks for all you do.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. I don't know who would,
Why don't I just explain what's
yeah,
what's
I was
going
gonna say,
on
I don't know who you want to go
Since we dropped
first
the
or-
ball and didn't put it on the agenda, maybe I should pick up the ball and explain.
Karen, where were you?
Yeah, she wasn't there to hold me
Matt
accountable.
dropped the ball. You're supposed to be.
Yeah, she should cut that.
I think, given the fact that these guys probably have homework, we should probably move with these guys first. So Tim wants to come up with the fire department to talk about the Chaska Fire Explorers, what they're doing, and some special recognition they just had in the state.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Tim Weeby, Fire Chief. I'd like to introduce firefighter Nate Peterson. Nate is the supervisor and oversees our Fire Explorer program. I will turn the mic over to him. He can explain the program a little bit and talk about some of the successes we had at the state fair competition.
Nate Peterson. These are the Explorers, minus one that was part of the team this year. Basically,
How about names, Nate?
names.
If you want them to introduce themselves, that's
Yep,
fine.
introduce yourselves.
I'm Emily.
But you gotta step up to the mic, otherwise
to
it
the
won't.
We'll make sure you get you centralized in the camera.
I'm Emily. I'm a lieutenant.
I'm Miguel, I'm the captain.
Alex, I'm just an explorer, I guess.
I'm Jacob.
I'm Celine.
And the one we're
Welcome,
missing
guys.
is Logan, which is Emily's brother. He was the captain. He's off at school now this year.
Okay.
So it's a group of kids, young adults actually, 14 to 21. They come to the fire station on Monday nights. They train with us. They work with us. They've been to big incidents with us and helped clean up and organize things. This year, well, every year at the state fair, first Friday at the state fair, they have Governor's Fire Prevention Day, where Explorer posts throughout the state and Iowa and Wisconsin come together and compete. I think we had, what, 27 teams this year?
Yep, 2017.
And they got third place.
Wow.
Third place?
Fabulous.
Third place, yeah. Last year we had fourth,
Congratulations.
so.
Job.
Fabulous.
Congratulations.
So yeah, I mean, it's awesome watching them. I mean, I'm just kind of here to guide a little bit, but they're the ones that do it all.
So basically, all their training is done through your regular department training? You don't really spend, I mean, you probably do a little bit, but I mean, primarily it's done through the department training?
For the most part, they train with us, yep, and when we get closer to state fair time, there's certain things that we do for the competitions that we get together, kind of separate from the department to focus on those so they're ready for the state fair.
Okay, cool.
Why don't you tell us what competitions there are? Luke was wondering.
So they have, there's a ladder raise competition, where the ladder basically starts on the ground, they have to get geared up, grab the ladder, put it up to a window, and then climb the ladder with a fire hose, and kind of show that they're flowing water, and then climb back down. They have extrication, where they're getting a victim out of a car onto a backboard. You gotta demobilize them, get them on the board, get them out on the ground, and package them up ready for transport. They have to do public education, where they have to do a speech in front of anybody who's sitting there watching. This year they had residential fire sprinklers as their speech. What am I missing?
Search and rescue?
Search and rescue, they have a room built, kind of on the grounds, where they have to go in, find a victim and drag them out. CPR training, or a CPR scenario, the firefighter 1 test, and then they also do a combat challenge, they call it, where they go through a series of events where they hoist a ladder or an axe up, then they have to, you guys are gonna have to help me.
We have to carry a body, then we have to lift up a fan, move it from one area to another, and then we have to carry a baby from one corner of a room to another corner of a room, basically clearing all 4 corners and ending. And then we attach a hose to a standpipe, we say we're running water through it, and we blast like a simulation fire.
So they got third place they would have had second place, they'll get lost it by about 37 seconds.
Wow.
So, next year.
Next year.
What is a firefighter 1 test?
So there's a series of, how many questions is it, like 150 questions, I think?
Okay.
Where it's just, different questions relating to fire service.
Okay.
And they gotta go through a series of those questions, and they
Thank you.
didn't get any wrong.
We got one wrong, but we were the.
Oh, yes.
Wow.
Luke wants to know if the chief could pass that test.
I did pass a test, but it was a number of years ago,
How many years ago was that?
at least 25,
Okay.
You're supposed to say more than 10.
more than 10. Yeah.
So these are future firefighters, which is
Some of them,
fabulous to
And
see.
maybe I could add on that, so since the program started, we've had, I think, close to about a dozen fire explorers that have become Chaska firefighters.
Wow, that's wonderful.
From that, we've had now 6 of them, 12 have moved on to full-time careers in the fire service.
Wow.
Either at Chaska, or a number of them have gone to Iowa and are full-time firefighters in Iowa.
Wow, that's wonderful.
So you can see that, I mean, the skill sets that they do, I mean, that's sort of a
Absolutely.
dream for Tim to have people who are already coming in sort of knowing what's going on.
Yeah.
And it's an opportunity for us to see these guys in action too. It's sort of like a big job interview, even though you guys don't realize it, it's sort of like a big.
Kind of a long-term job.
Yeah, it's like a long-term job interview that you're not getting paid for, but the same model has been used in the police department too with the Explorers, and I shared with you before that there's a number of officers that we've hired out of that process, and it's invaluable when you have a good program. I mean, you're running a fantastic program here, where you really can see these guys in action, and there's a value to the community because it's sort of creating our bench for potential firefighters in the future.
And those numbers that the chief just talked about there, about how many moved on and have become full-time fire staff, that's a really high number for a low percentage of people.
Yeah.
So that tells you that something's being done right at this lower level, and to allow them to move on to that. It's not easy to get into that particular field in a full-time service, so that's just kudos to the department for doing that, so thank Thanks.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Nate, for
Well
running
done.
that show.
Congratulations
Nice
on the
job,
third
guys.
place
Yes.
finish.
Congrats, guys.
Good job.
Very cool.
So the next group we have coming up is our police department with our CSO. I'm really excited about this because we've been talking about this the whole summer. We've been talking about how a big focus we're going to have now is to have a proactive approach to code enforcement in the city, both from a resource perspective, but also it's something that it's very clear our community is really wanting us to do. And I think there's strategies. Nobody likes rule enforcers. No offense, guys, but nobody likes rule enforcers. We're going to look at how do we put the friendly face on this, but really looking at what other communities are doing, and I'll explain a little bit about that after they have a chance to introduce themselves. So we'll start with Scott.
Mayor, Council, good to see you this evening. Thank you, Mayor, for your kind words. Council, we appreciate the recognition. We do have an exceptionally good community and team in place here. Thank you. And Matt, I do like rule enforcers.
Well, at least one of us does.
So I am here to simply introduce or reintroduce Morelia Garcia. She just ticked over 19 years with the City of Chaska, with the police department, an anniversary we're very proud of. Morelia has been a CSO, a lead CSO, and is just the person positioned at the right time in the right place to lead our new division. We're very happy about that. I'm going to turn it over to her to talk about our new team.
Thanks, Chief.
Well, thank you for having us here. And first, we do have 3 CSOs. One is not here present with us. He has school, so he couldn't make it today. But his name is.
Bring it down closer to you.
His name is Blake Martin. And then I'll have you introduce yourself.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Katie Dulitz. I'm new to the team, obviously. I'm super excited to be here, get out in the community a little bit. I was a 911 dispatcher with the sheriff's office, so I'm looking forward to bringing some of that skill set out into the community and serve the city and serve the citizens within Chaska. So I'm very excited. Thank you for having me.
And what, I missed your last name, what was it?
Dulitz.
Do it?
Yep, Dulitz.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
And my name is Brendan Heitkamp. I am a law enforcement major, so hopefully this CSO job will help lead me into a police officer job with the City of Chaska. So I think it's a great way for me to learn the community, get to meet community members, and also learn city ordinances and also other codes that I'm going to need to know as a police officer.
You're not related to the city administrator at Campbell, are you?
I am not.
Okay.
Good or bad?
He used to be an intern here, so.
Great experience, though, I'm sure.
Well, welcome, you guys. Like Matt says, we've been talking about doing this and trying to get this going and taking some pressure off some of our department heads by having you guys take those complaints and things like that. So we're excited to see this finally come to life here, and we'll see how things go as we move forward.
We'll do our best.
I know you will.
We know you'll do your best.
We'll try to do our best.
Oh, yes, you'll be fine.
One of the things with them doing their best is that we're providing them the support to be able to do that.
Right.
And so I've mentioned this to you before, but I think since we're introducing this, I think it's worth mentioning again. I sort of joked about we're going to be the friendly enforcement, but what I meant by that is that we want to come up with strategies as we move forward and create our policies and procedures for how we're not just somebody that's going out and saying, you're doing the wrong thing, we can do that forever. What we really want to do is take an approach of how do we educate the public, how do we get the public involved in determining what things are most important to them to see that their neighbors and the community wants us to focus on, and also how do we put in place the mechanisms, most specifically both the ordinances and the procedures for how we move forward. So for instance, working with the county attorney's office, if we go through all these processes and they do all their work and they hand it over to the county attorney's office, the county attorney says, what do you want me to do with this? It does no good. we need to be able to work across the team. This is going to be a unique division because it's really sort of, it's probably our first division that's really set up that really pulls in multiple departments into one, and that's going to be really a challenge for Morelia because some of us are not real fun to work with. So, but it's going to.
Meaning he was doing this as he said that.
But it's going to be bringing in multiple divisions to, because right now we have our Public Works Department that's dealing with weed complaints, and we have our Building Enforcement Division that's dealing with dilapidated buildings, and we have planning that's dealing with signage, and the list goes on, but every department sort of has its own sort of code issue, and that's what's been so inefficient about our service. We needed a quarterback, and Morelia is really our quarterback in this, to be able to coordinate those efforts, focus on the things that we want to focus on, and then go out and create a procedure that people view as fair and that we're educating the public on what we're trying to accomplish. And so, for instance, there's communities out there that will say, here's the list of the top 10 things that we hear complaints on, and we're going to this area of the community today, and we're going to focus on these 10 things, and just be aware. So it's really trying to provide an opportunity for people to understand what is it that we're focusing on, and how did we get to that point. So speaking of getting to that point, our code of ordinances is really old and not the greatest. And, I just sort of want to set the expectations that you're not going to see these guys on the street. I mean, they're going to be doing their training and everything like that. So they will be out doing certain things to get that exposure. But for the most part, you're not going to really see these guys out for the next several months, because we really need to focus, since we're starting from scratch, on creating the base. If we just continue to do things the way we're doing them, we're just not going to get any traction. And so we're having a kickoff coordination meeting Friday, I think it is, where we're getting everybody together with all the departments to really sort of talk about how are we going to do this, how are we going to develop this, what process and procedures are we going to use, and what are we trying to accomplish. And I really sort of envision, even though we haven't determined exactly what processes we're going to use, I really envision as we go through this process that we're going to go through and really ask the public what things do they think are most important for us to focus on. Because, quite frankly, there's some pretty stupid rules in our ordinances that, they're in there, and if they're in there, we should be enforcing them. And if we don't think we should be enforcing them, then they shouldn't be in there. And so, really spending time going out to the public and saying, what's important to you? Developing our ordinances around there. Some things we just have to do, but other things are discretionary, and determining what to do, educate the public, get feedback in that, and then you can expect at some point in time, several months from now, you'll see Morelia back, and she's going to be coming with, here it is. Here, here's the process that we used, here's the ordinances we came up with, really taking and improving everything at once, educating you guys on what policies, procedures, everything we're going to do, and that will really be the kickoff of the service side of it. During this process, we'll be having work sessions with the council to sort of tell you progress and where we're at and understand what's important to you. But most of all, I just, sometimes, it's like when we deal with redevelopment projects, we'll approve the plans, and people the next day will say, why aren't the buildings down yet? It's just like this. There's people hired, and they'll say, why aren't we out doing anything yet? We have work to do. And I just want to make sure that those expectations are clear, so that people don't think that we've added a resource and that we're not getting any value for it. I think in the long term, these guys are going to do an absolutely fantastic job of really helping create a community that it's already a great community, but how do we make it better? And nothing impacts people more than having neighbors that don't take care of their property. It is really frustrating for people to understand how it is that they can put time and energy and care into the investment they have, and that somebody they have no control over can impact the value of their investment. And to me, that's where the public comes in and what responsibility we have. And if we're gonna have the rules, we need to have the resources and the people to be able to do it. So long-term, I think these guys are gonna add extreme value to the community, just not for a while. But I wanted to make sure, since they just came on, that they get introduced to you, you know who they are, their faces, and know that you'll be seeing a lot more of them coming up in the future.
Awesome. Thank you. Anyone, before they go?
Congratulations and good luck. Look forward to the work you're going to be doing.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm happy to see this in place, too. Awesome. Glad you're on board. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Joel, before you leave, come on up and show your smiling face, please. You were kind of signaled out about initially finding, but at least come on up and say hi, and so that the 1.2 million people know who you are out there when they see you.
Yeah, come up to the podium.
Yeah.
You gotta say your name.
I won't put you through that, but thank you for hoping to make, like I said, closure for those families.
Thank you.
Those are, something like that is something that can go unnoticed. I mean, I look at myself, I drove by there 4 times, and I usually see goofy things like that, but, you know, there's always the assumption that, oh yeah, something happened there, you know, it's taken care of. It's just, until somebody really makes the effort to get out and go back there and find that, and, you know, thank you, you know, I'm kind of saying thank you for the family. I don't know if they've had an opportunity or if they ever will, but to help them, you know, that there's nothing worse than the unknown, and at least now they know. So thank you for that. And sorry to embarrass you, but
No,
we signaled you out, but you're not on the camera, so I wanted to make sure that we brought you forward, so thank you.
And I can't thank Chief Wiebe enough for all of his help at the scene last night too, in their department.
Well, I know, like I said, we're very fortunate that everybody can work together and make the chief uses it, and I've used it too, is, you know, our job in those things is to kind of get the chaos organized. Because that, in events like that quick, that fast, and something like that, they are chaotic at first. But by the time the event's over, it's running like clockwork, and nobody it's just the way it works.
Well, and chaos is a good explanation for it. I'm sure most of these guys were watching the Vikings game yesterday at 3 o'clock, and who would know that within an hour and a half, they'd be doing what they're doing.
Right. And then, like I said, you finally get home at 1 o'clock, and 2 hours later, you're back at it, and out at a major apartment fire, so. All right, thank you, appreciate it. Now you can go.
Wait a minute, though. If Joe was watching the Vikings game, we might have a problem. No.
You said it, not me. All right, is there anyone else under visitor presentation here tonight? Okay, we will go ahead and move on to item 6, which is approving the previous meeting minutes. Discussion, if not, I'll entertain a motion. Corrections?
Motion to approve the minutes, Mr. Mayor.
Motion by Councilmember Geisler.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Schultz to approve the meeting minutes. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Post same sign. Motion carries. Moves us on to item 7, which is consent agenda item. For anyone that doesn't, it's items that need approval, but not necessarily conversation, but can be pulled out if necessary. So with that, discussion.
I make a motion to approve consent agenda items.
I have a motion by Councilmember Bo.
One second.
Second by Councilmember Geisler. Discussion.
Mr. Mayor, I did have one question come up on 7A about the canvas for the municipal election results. So the question came up is, how long do we have to actually canvass the election results? We actually have up to 10 days to do it. And originally, we were looking at setting it on that Monday night. However, that's actually Veterans Day recognition that day, and that's why we're doing it on Tuesday. If that time doesn't work...
Well, so we're moving the council meeting to Tuesday?
Well, there is no council meeting that week. We have to hold a special meeting for it. So we really can have it anytime within 10 days. We threw this out as a date. If it doesn't work for everybody, then we need to come up with a different time. How about, as long as we have 3, we're fine, right? As long as we have 3.
I'm there.
I'm there.
It's after the election, I should be available, so yeah, thank you.
If anything changes, let us know.
Yep,
and
absolutely.
we'll get it changed, because we do have a meeting on the 29th, and so we'll know up until then.
Okay.
Again, we have 10 days. We will not be prepared the week of the election to do it. Otherwise, we do it the week before. But we, basically, I think have until the end of that week, so up until that Friday.
So it's Tuesday the 13th, is that what we're gonna do it?
Yeah, I think that's what it is. Yeah,
Yeah,
yep.
the 12th would be the observance.
Yeah, the observance, yep, so 13th.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah.
So,
All right.
all right, I have,
And it's 6 PM we had as a time. I thought you guys might appreciate just getting it done. And
yeah, because it's pretty quick.
Yeah, it takes
About
5
half an
minutes.
hour,
I didn't want to dig into the rest of your evening.
And we meet here at.
Yep, we meet
Chambers.
here. It usually takes 5 minutes.
Seems like it's pretty quick if I
Yep.
remember it.
Yep.
Count me in.
Okay.
So I just got a question. First off, I know, I just want to make sure, if there's anybody here that's for the, Sagewood development that wanted, I know that I had some conversation about, was there a final? I just want to make sure if there's anybody here that wanted to, could have the opportunity. I'm not seeing anything, so I'm going to bypass that. The other question I have is, so this bike-friendly community designation, what exactly is it entailing? I mean, I've read it a couple times and I don't know, I'm just not getting.
So, basically what it's trying to do is we're a natural fit for this because we have so many trails. And we have regional trail connections or anything. And so going through that designation is one that ends up being more of a marketing tool than anything for us as a community. In the future, it might open up some opportunities for grants to be able to get dollars for trails and things like that. But it's really a marketing tool for especially like realtors to go out and be able to say, Chaska is designated as a bike-friendly community. And so really what it's saying is that there's a number of things that we do, from having trails to having designated bike lanes on streets to enforcement actions that we take through our police department, that we have clinics to be able to provide helmets, and I mean just the whole list of things. It's really a certification. It's sort of like a lead process for a building. It's a certification process. And the reason really want to take advantage of this, other than the fact that we have a lot of the stuff in place, we might be, if we get this, I think other than Minneapolis, we might be the first like non-big city like that to actually have that designation in the state. And Carver County has SHIP, and you used to work for SHIP. It's a State Health Improvement Plan?
Program.
So they have dollars that they need to spend on things that help make the community more healthy. And so the assessment to go through this, I think, costs $5,000 or $6,000 to do that.
Yep.
What's that? $5,000. And Carver County has said through their SHIP program that they'll pay for that. And so it's really sort of a no-risk thing for us from a cost perspective, but a real potential big gain. And they'll also give us, besides saying, there's like a bronze, silver, gold, platinum sort of certification. We're not going to get platinum, but let's say we get silver. What they'll say is, well, if you want to get to gold, here are specific things that you could do, or if you want to get to platinum, here are specific things you want to do. And it'll do two things. I think it'll give us ideas of things that maybe we haven't thought about before. And I think the second thing is it gives us some ideas, especially we're going through this comp plan right now, and especially focusing on parks and trails. It'll potentially give us some ideas of things that we could include in our trail section of our comp plan, of things that we want to aspire to in the future. So I think there's really only an upside to this. There's no cost because of the county partnering with us on this. So, but
That's what I was kind of
basically
wondering,
what it is.
if there's a continuing cost or.
No.
Once you get the
Once you
designation.
get the designation, it's in. Now, we might go through that and say, boy, we the things they're listing for gold, we're not that far off. We should really do that. No, then we'd have to go through an assessment process again, but then at that point, we might say, this is really worth it for us. Or the county might come and say, no, it's worth it for us to have somebody in the county do that, so.
Okay.
And do you know if
I think the other important thing of that is when we make those recommendations or things that we can do to get to the next level. It's really on us to determine whether we think that's a priority.
absolutely.
It's, it's our thing to.
Benefit analysis.
Okay.
Very good.
Thank you for clarifying. I read that a couple times and I just wasn't.
The Park and Rec staff are pretty excited about it, because it's really taking assets that we already have and looking at how do we improve them.
All right, so we had a motion and a second, and I think it was,
Yes.
Bo and Geisler?
Yes.
Or the motion and second. So, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Post same sign. Motion carries. This is number 8, which is our action items. This is 8A, which is a public hearing to consider setting the 2019 operating budget and plan for the Chaska Downtown Special Services District.
Mayor, Councilmember, I'll turn this one over to Nate.
All right, so this is an activity that we do every year, starting in 2014, or since 2014, when the Special Service District was created. So you probably all remember, but just to refresh, the Special Service District essentially incorporates downtown or encompasses downtown and includes all the commercial properties within that district boundary. Adds an extra tax that they're opting into. They're choosing to impose upon themselves in order to raise some funds that they then put into raising the profile and the amenities of the business community downtown. So they've done a number of things. I think some of the more visible activities would include their website. They've got a pretty active presence on Facebook and social media. They've hired Jen Angel, who's their administrator, and so she's there to help push things along and make sure things are happening. But they've also, this year, they were the primary sponsor of the block party on 2nd Street that recently happened. They're the lead on the Hometown Holiday event as well. So those are some of the things that are a little bit more visible, but they've also been starting to dive into providing business assistance for the different businesses downtown. So, for example, they've been contracting with Orange Ball, which is a marketing company that's based out of the Chaska Mill building, and they've been holding workshops kind of intermittently throughout the year, and they'll invite the downtown business owners to come and learn about how they can improve their marketing for their own business, how they can set up a stronger social media presence or make changes to their website and do all that kind of thing. So that's another example of the service that they've been providing that you wouldn't necessarily see or know about if you're not a business owner in downtown. So that's the process that we need to go through. You all did on October 15th call for a public hearing to be held tonight. We had a couple situations come up that we weren't expecting.
Like Nate didn't get his work done.
Yeah. I was expecting to get my work done, but that held up the process, and some notices got out, after we would have preferred them to happen. So as a result, we need to push out some deadlines here to make sure that we're going through the process that state statute requires. So what I would request tonight is that you open the public hearing and call for it to be held open until November 5th.
Is that tabled?
No, it's just keeping it open and
Just keeping it
continuing
open.
until then.
Yep. And then we'll hold that public hearing on November 5th. So we have taken the steps to get the notices out and things that we won't have an issue holding, continuing the public meeting the public hearing on November 5th and doing what we need to do to adopt the SSD's budget.
All right, discussion up here?
No, I mean, the point is to keep in mind is that, this has brought a lot of benefit to downtown businesses, and they have voluntarily elected to pay this special fee because they see the benefit of working together as a group, so.
One step further than that, they've asked us to do this.
That's
Right.
a good point.
Yeah.
Yep. So they they have a board, and we contract with the Chaska Downtown Business Alliance to oversee the SSD. So there's a board in place. They work on developing their budget, and they talk about that and take it seriously because they know that they're taxing themselves. But yeah, it's really at their request.
Okay, good.
Okay. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead at 7:50 and open the public hearing considering the setting of the 2019 operating budget. I would entertain a motion to leave the meeting open until November 5th. Is that what I need to do? And then is that where 7 o'clock at Chaska City Council? Chaska.
Date, time, and place.
Yep, okay. So, is there anyone willing to make that motion?
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Motion by Councilmember Schultz. Second by Councilmember Geisler to leave the public hearing open until November 5th at 7 o'clock, right here at the Chaska City Council chambers. Yeah, that's about it. And we'll consider the 2019 operating budget for the downtown business district, so.
And we will have representatives at that meeting to present and give you an annual update and all that.
Okay, all right. Okay, further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Pose same sign. Motion carries. Moves us to item 8B, which is approve adjustments to the pension benefits of the Chaska Fire Department Relief Association. And I have to recuse myself of this because I am a member of the Chaska Fire Department Relief Association. So the meeting will get turned over to Pro Tem Councilmember Schultz. Do you want this or are you coming over here?
No, I'll stay where I'm at. That's your seat, and I've been sitting in this for almost 12 years now.
12 years.
I'm good with where I'm sitting.
Mayor Pro Tem and council members, the item in front of you tonight is considering adjustment to our pension benefits for the Chaska Fire Department Relief Association. Just so you know, our Chaska Department Relief, our Relief Association is our pension for our firefighters. It's actually probably a little bit unique in that, you know, like for myself or police department or other employees in the city, we actually go through the state of Minnesota and have para. These guys actually manage, operate, own their own pension, and so they're really in charge of monitoring that. We try to evaluate this on a regular basis to try to maximize the benefit for the members of the Fire Department Relief Association, while at the same time making sure that we have a fund that's properly funded to be able to support that in the future. Our staff liaison to that is Noel Graysick, our Finance or Administrative Service Director, so I'll turn it over to him to present. We do have members of the Fire Relief Association. One thing I'll point out is that the chief is here. He's actually an advisory member. Is that the official term? Trustee. So it's mainly the retired firefighters that manage this, along with some acting ones, but it's a lot of work that they put into it. And so, you know, this seems like a pretty simple request, and we're recommending approval of it. But I just want to mention there's a lot of work that both Noel and this volunteer board put into putting this recommendation together. So I'll turn it over to Noel.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, council members. Before you tonight is a request for a motion that will approve the new benefit levels that have been recommended by the membership of the Chaska Fire Department Relief Association, and to approve the amendment of the bylaws of that association so that those new benefit levels can be put in place. This comes before the City Council tonight because once a benefit level has been increased, the city is obligated to fund that benefit level in the future. So this is something that won't change. Once we've extended that benefit to the membership, that benefit level stays in place. There is authority under state statute for the city to levy to support those benefits as needed. One of the things that the city has done with the relief is establish a funding mechanism to quantify how much the city is contributing each year. At the present time, the amount the city is contributing is greater than the required contribution for the Relief Association. So that's been helping to buy down the unfunded liability in the organization. As of the end of December 31st, 2017, which is the last actuarial funding date, the fund was funded at about 95%. The Relief Association Trustee Board looked at that, and we had not seen a benefit increase in 2 years. We're trying to set up a 2-year cycle where we review this every actuarial period and then determine if it's appropriate to put through a benefit increase. So the board then looked at that and made a recommendation to raise the benefit level for both the monthly benefits, because they're firefighters who get a monthly pension when they complete their years of service and qualification for the pension. And then in 2015, the Relief Association added a defined contribution benefit so that they can take a lump sum at the time of their retirement. And that lump sum is based on the actuarial equivalent of the monthly. So the two benefit levels we're establishing are an increase in the monthly pension benefit and an associated actuarial equivalent increase in the lump sum benefit. The increase will take the funding of the pension benefit from 95% down to 85%. That's typically, not unexpected when there is a benefit increase, but that is still a well-funded benefit at this. The pension itself is still well-funded. There is no increase in the amount of additional city contribution that the city makes, because the contribution that's agreed to right now is sufficient to cover the requirements under both the current benefit and the new benefit. If there's no questions of me at this point, I will pass this over to our fire chief and the president of the trustee board.
So this is really the best of both worlds. It costs us no more money, but they get more money, more benefits.
How does that work?
It's a function of how well the market's been doing.
Okay.
Because keep in mind that these are invested dollars,
Right.
and so if the market performs better than what our anticipation or plan is, that helps us more fully fund the plan, and the market's been pretty good. And so that's allowed us to sort of, keep our same benefit level, but fund them at a point that allows them to reap the benefits of having a richer benefit. Did I get that right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
You guys have anything to add?
No, I'll just say, my name is Jesse Davey. I'm the Relief Association president. The board does invest a fair amount of time in managing the fund and really trying to not only create benefit for those that have served, but also create an opportunity to establish a fund that rewards service to the community and allows for the both hiring and retention of firefighters. And so this is an important tool for that as Tim looks to bring on additional firefighters. So this is valuable on multiple fronts, and we appreciate your consideration.
Great. Anything, Tim?
I would just echo that in today's world in the paid on call fire service, the biggest things out there is recruitment and retention, and how valuable it is to find the right people and keep them. We really view the pension as a really good tool to help with us moving forward and to continue this model into the future. So again, I agree with the president that this does multiple things, rewarding our past members. It rewards the people that dealt with the stuff this weekend, and it will benefit the people into the future.
When Tim talks about recruitment and retention, one of the interesting things that at least we talk about is that people don't join the fire department for the pension. Recruitment is very different than retention. People join the fire department because they want to serve the community. They think it will be exciting. They really want to be a part of it. They like the fire service. There's a number of reasons that people join the fire service. But after you've gone through like 10 years of calls like yesterday, that excitement sort of wears off. And so then it's a retention issue. Then it's how do we make it worth their while to say, you know what, I'm going to go and help rescue somebody in the middle of the night, or I'm going to leave my kids play or band concert to Cub Scouts, karate, to be able to go respond to something, because and quite frankly, the farther they get into the career, the more that they get into leadership positions, and so those leadership positions take more time.
It's more time. Sure.
And so not only are they, do those calls become more wearing, but the time commitment becomes greater because people turn to them as leaders in the fire service. And so having some kind of a tangible way to be able to recognize that becomes really important in retention. So, like I said, I would venture to say 95% of it, maybe there's somebody that joins because of the pension. Actually, they'd be smart if they did join because of the pension. but the 95% of people don't join because of the pension, but this is a really important tool to keep them.
And let's face it, that's a struggle that a lot of communities are having now, is attracting and retaining adequate numbers. So.
And specifically because it's a volunteer fire department instead of a paid fire department, like some cities do have.
Yep.
But we don't pay our firefighters, they volunteer their time to do this.
Yeah.
Even like the hours they put in yesterday was amazing. I mean, I saw they were there a very long time. To me, it's just a given that we should do something to honor that, especially long-term, yeah.
And I don't want people to think that this is the only retention tool, because sometimes pay can be a demotivator too. To me, while this is important, we can't lose sight of the fact that some of the programs that Tim has been working on to help deal with the grinding nature of calls, so being able to have designated times that people come for duty crews, and being able to look at how do we take some of the burden off of leaders. In the long run, that's going to have a lot more impact on retention than this will. But this is, to me, this is, let's put our money where our mouth is.
Sure.
Those things are to really help the firefighters, what Tim's focusing on. This, to me, is saying we value you, and we're not just going to say it, we're going to contribute towards it.
Certainly, I think Councilmember Wall and Councilmember Giesler both put it pretty well. It's maybe it's not the only tool, but it is a tool in the toolbox that we can utilize. It is a time where communities like ourselves, that really rely on a volunteer fire department like this to go through and jump out of bed in the middle of stopping whatever they're doing in the middle of the night to go deal with a fire call or recovering vehicles out of ponds. Can't say that's something I would look forward to, and I have a whole level of respect for you guys for the work that you do, and so certainly understand it. I do have one question. You indicated we're able to do this without any additional cost to the city because of the performance of past investments. What happens when investments don't do so well?
I'll let Noel talk about that, because it's not like we sort of cut this on the edge. There's a cushion that's put in there.
Yeah, every 2 years, the relief is required to do an actuarial funding report. That's per state statute, and the purpose of that is to evaluate the financial position of the liabilities and the assets of the Relief Association. And so we are not committing ourselves to doing an increase every 2 years, but we are committing to reviewing the ability to make a benefit change every 2 years. So if we determine that investment performance has not met the assumptions as needed, that means there would probably not be a recommendation for a benefit increase. So it's really something that the trustees will look at to determine what is that overall funding level of the relief. Is it trending as we expected? If for some reason it is not, then there would probably not be a benefit increase. We cannot reduce the benefits in the future because we are making an obligation, establishing a level here and then maintaining that in the future.
And the cushion that I talked about is more than just investments. Noel had mentioned that, one of the things that we've been doing for a few years now is we've been funding at a higher level than we need to. And so, some of that cushion is the actual dollars that we're taking out of our general fund budget and putting it towards this. In the short term, what it's doing is it's getting us quicker to being fully funded. But in the long term, we'd have a little bit of wiggle room to be able to move and actually see investments be not perform as well, but we're contributing more. And then the other thing I just point out is, the investments have done what they've done. And so we have a base right now. That doesn't change our assumptions going into the future.
Sure.
So
we're
it's
always looking out several years, obviously.
Yeah,
and past
exactly.
Performance as well as
so it's not like
performance.
you're assuming you're going to perform exactly the same way you have the last 5 years. You're saying this is our base, and we're going to assume we're performing at what the average is over time.
Fantastic. And it's all self-regulated. You guys are keeping an eye on this. You review this every couple of years, and it's the board that makes these recommendations and determines.
And two other things I'll point out, you guys see the fire relief audit each year when we have the audit come in. So you guys have a chance to not only look at, in this case, we're looking at projections. In that case, you're looking at results. And so you guys see that each year. And then the second thing I'll point out, you'd mentioned about, the fire department being volunteer instead of being paid. Who knows exactly what the exact number is, but I can tell you that a good assumption for how much a full-time fire department would cost is to look at the cost of the police department. $3 million? It's probably $3 million, and right now we're probably spending $1 million on the fire department. It's probably a third of the cost for our fire department the way it is now, even with us adding more robust duty crews than it is to have a full-time department. So the community is getting an exceptional value because of the fact that these guys are willing to step up and volunteer for it.
Yeah, it's incredible what you really takes all look at the numbers and the value that the city's really getting out of the fire department. And again, appreciate the work and effort from your teams. We said it earlier on, and like I said, I think across the board here, the respect we have for the work that you guys do is at a pretty high level. It's pretty impressive what you guys do and how you keep this community safe.
Yep, very much appreciated.
Pro Tem, if I may.
Certainly.
Mark Windschuttle, member of the Relief Board. I just would like to add to this that as the mayor, not up there now, but I had the opportunity to sit on the Relief Board the last 9 years, and I just want to let everybody know the amount of work and to really thank Noel to help us as a board kind of come together, get in full compliance, help us get on track more about how to finance it. For a long time, there was no increases in any kind of a pension whatsoever until we got Noel on board, and really he started diving in and understanding what's really happening here, was able to bring those numbers up. Jesse leading the pension board the last number of years has keeping that continuity of who's there and what's happening has been really important. And I mean, we meet on a monthly basis now, where I think that there was a long time where I don't know if they met twice a year maybe. So I just want to say thank you to those guys that they put a lot of work in. This is just besides what they normally do, and they come in and help. And again, thank you to Noel. That's really, we were in non-compliance on a number of things that we would get dinged on when you'd see that in the audit. And I think the last time our audit came out pretty clean, I think, for the first time in a number of years. So thank you to Jesse and Noel for all the work that they do. That is kind of that nobody really sees and recognizes, and I want to formally tell them thank you.
So it used to be me that sat on that board.
Yeah,
the best
nothing
the
got
best
done.
decision I ever made was to say, "No, I am no good at this. You need to do this."
Man's got to know his limitations.
And I concur completely. Noel has done an absolutely fantastic job of really providing some good professional advice. I mean, Jesse also, he is very involved in this, knows what's going on. I think the two of them as a team together have really turned this thing around. And, they always have the saying, put good people in place and step out of the way. That was the best decision I made, was say, no, get me out of this because I am not very good at this. So.
And it is a board of 7? I believe it's 7 members. So there's a retired member on there, and then the remaining are active members. So, and I don't want to name everybody because I'll probably forget unless you want to, Jesse, but that's entirely up to you.
How brave you feeling, Jesse?
Sorry.
Talk about put him on the spot.
Yeah. Travis Lindberg, Chris Pierce, Kevin Tripatowski.
Greg Davies.
Greg Davies is our retired member. Chief Weeby, myself, Noel, and the mayor. And I would echo the mayor's comments. Noel's been a great addition and very helpful.
And I stunk.
I'm gonna say that.
I second that.
Well, it's certainly nice to hear. Not surprising. Noel's always done a great job for the city, and the fact that he's helped with the fire department as well. It's a great team, it sounds like. And again, appreciate not only the efforts that you guys put in on a daily basis, but even on, as we indicated earlier, with the leadership taking on those extra challenges and that extra work. We saw it earlier with the fire explorers as well. That's not done easily, and it takes time and effort and the work that this team puts together and puts out in developing new firefighters for this community to utilize is incredible. And so the work this leadership team does, as well as the members themselves, is greatly appreciated.
Thank you.
Thanks, gentlemen.
With that, any other discussion? Questions for any of the above? Jesse, Noel, Chief Weeby,
Fine job.
We're good.
the guy with the peanut gallery in the back.
Yeah.
Don't ask me a question. Nate would know more than I would.
Oh, this topic?
That shows you how much I don't know.
Very good. Well, then, if there's no other discussion, I'd entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Councilmember Geisler for approval. Let's see, what do we, let's read it. Let's kind of go official with it here.
That's right.
I have to put on some reading glasses here so I can see what I'm looking at and make sure I get the wording straight here. So, motion to approve the Chaska Fire Department Relief Association benefit structure and bylaw amendments based on the benefit of 2.4525 per month of service for the monthly benefit, and a benefit of $7,100 per year of service for the lump sum benefit effective as of January 1st, 2019. Is that correct?
That's my motion. Yes, sir.
Have a motion? And we have a second by Councilmember Bowe. No. Gentlemen, thank you so much for all your work and all your efforts. Greatly appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Hope this helps a little bit with your retention. No other questions, comments? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes. Oh, the power of the gavel.
But it went pretty smooth while the mayor was gone.
Yeah.
I might want to say. I'm going to say it. Okay. Then I won't cover it.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Pro Tem, appreciate it. Let's see, we move on to item number 9, bills. Discussion on any bill. If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve the bills.
Motion by Councilmember Schultz,
I'll second that.
second by Councilmember Geisler to pay the bills. Discussion. Nate, call roll, please.
Yes, Councilmember Schultz,
Yes.
Councilmember Bowe,
Yes.
Councilmember Geisler,
Yes.
Mayor Winchell.
Yes. And I don't know if we have to record that. I came back to the yeas at 8:14. Okay, good. We'll move past that. Other business.
Are you sure he came back?
Sitting there. That's all I can do. That's all I can do. Let's start with Councilmember Geisler.
I don't really have anything new. The one thing I was going to bring up, Matt's going to address about the dog park.
Okay.
So I'll just pass that on to him when he's ready.
Well, let's just go right to Matt then.
Well, I'll start with that then. Next, the 29th, we are going to have a meeting. The meeting itself is going to be really short. Literally, it should be just a couple minutes. And the reason being is we're going to have a joint work session between the Park Board, Planning Commission, HPC, and the council to go over recommendations coming back from the task force for the City Square West. The plan for that night is we're also, it's hard to get everybody together, and so we're going to sort of piggyback things together. That evening is going to be the opening of the dog park. And so at 5 o'clock, there'll be a little ceremony and opening and things like that down at the dog park. That'll probably take about a half hour. We've sort of built in some time for mingling and things like that, but we want to be back here by 6. We're going to plan a 6 to 8 time period for work session. We'll take a little bit of a break in there at 7 just to get the meeting stuff that we need to get done, and then sort of get back together and finish up doing.
So apparently we must have some business that we have to get done that night?
Yeah, there's things we have to do that night. Okay. For instance, one of the things is we have open enrollment for our employees coming up the beginning of November. At least that portion of the contract I'm pretty much done with, and we've budgeted that stuff. I want to get you guys to consider the approval of employee contributions so that the employees know exactly what they're going to get when they go into open enrollment period. So I really want to get that done that night. I think there's a couple other things we have to do, really minor. But I figure it's a way to sort of piggyback everything one night so we don't have to call a special meeting.
And it's on Monday.
Monday the 29th, October 29th.
And the dog park thing, was that what time?
5 o'clock.
5 p.m., thank you.
Yep.
Is that the whole dog park or just a small?
No, well, it's going to take, it's going to be that smaller area.
Okay.
And, that'll be open to the public. The stuff in the woods is being worked on. I think they'll have the fence up, but it takes a little while to grub that area and to get it, grubbed out. And so that's going to be next summer before that's fully open. But we wanted to get the things open that could be used now. So it won't be everything, but it's going to be enough where people look and say, this is great. So, and if you've driven by, you may have seen the work. It's definitely coming along. Curling Night in America had its first airing this last Friday night. It's coming up this upcoming Friday night again. I didn't see it. I heard that they gave a good shout out to Chaska, showed pictures of Chaska, Fireman's Park downtown. So hopefully they do that in each episode. The Curling Center, I put it in your bi-weekly, but if people want to see what the schedule is, it's not the same time every Friday night. Like I think this upcoming Friday night's from 8 to 10, so more prime time.
It's a little different.
So it's a little different each week, but if people go to the Curling Center's site, they can get this full schedule. It'll go through the middle of December, and then they take a little bit of a hiatus for the holidays, and then every indication is that they'll replay that then during the winter time too. So we'll get a couple cracks at it throughout the course of the year, so that'll be sort of exciting to see. We do have an employee breakfast coming up. The lawyer wanted me to remind you that everybody here is invited. We have to post it as an open meeting because, which is the right thing to do. We have to post it as an open meeting, so that means that the public is welcome to come to if they want to. We'd ask if they do, if they could let us know so we make sure that we have enough space and stuff for people. But basically, it's going to be an opportunity for our employees to hear the exact same presentation that you guys did with the Decision Resources Community Survey. So much of what occurred in that survey is directly related back to what they do on a day-to-day basis. The mayor and I talked quite a bit about this. My first sort of inkling was to just go out into each department and share that with them. But Peter did such a nice job of giving that presentation. He sort of has the context and the stories behind it that I think add a lot of meaning. And so we talked to Peter, and he said he was happy to come out and just provide that exact same presentation again. So you guys will have already seen it, but it'll be the first time that the employees have seen it. And to me, there's a lot of great things that they really deserve some kudos in. So I want to make sure that they're hearing it firsthand.
You mean it's not part of their job requirement to watch these meetings?
Yeah, they're part of the 1.1 million.
see.
But that's on the 25th,
Yes.
which
7:30
is
a.m.
Thursday. Is that next week, Ari?
Next week.
Yeah, next week, Thursday.
Yep.
Wow, the month is going by fast.
Yep.
So next week, Thursday, 7:30 a.m. We'll be done by 9 over at the event center. So.
And I think,
This guy's the cheapest guy in the world, and he goes, and it will not be a free breakfast.
That's right.
I think, you know, one of the things Matt and I talked about, I think that it's sometimes good for the employees to hear about things other than from Matt. We know what it's like when our boss talks, you just kind of go,
Yeah.
so so I think it's important that, especially this one, where it is really a lot of good information and I think good news, that it's nice to have someone else deliver it. I think that it may say a little more, so.
Well, and you know, the thing I have previewed to them, I mean, there's a lot of metrics that he gave us in that, and it's all measuring perception, which I always tell people, you know, we can sit there and measure how many miles of streets we plow or how long it takes us to plow a street or how many tickets that we write, and say, wow, we're doing so much better than our neighboring community. People don't care. The only thing they care about is, do they perceive that this is a good place to live? Right. Perception is reality. It is what we need to do to drive our service level. If people don't, you know, we could be doing the best job in the entire metro area, but if people don't perceive we're doing a good job, then we're doing something wrong. And so that's why I think it's really important for employees to get this data, because it reinforces the discussions we have all the time that perception matters. But the preview I've given to them is that, I mean, if you remember, I mean, Peter basically said, you guys are in the top 5 communities in the entire Twin Cities as far as the community's perception of services, of the community, of the direction it's going, of really all measures. And, you know, that as far as issues, you know, the 2 largest things were unsure and no issue. And it's just unprecedented. And, you know, he's got multiple clients across the Twin Cities, so he's not going to say you're number 1. But when we have our conversations with him, we're pretty darn close as far as the results that we get on that survey. So that's important for the employees to hear, both to recognize them, but to also emphasize the importance of how people in the community perceive the services we're providing.
It also helps them understand why you're doing what you're doing. As you're driving the process down the road, you're hearing what the community is saying, and then you're applying it through the processes that you're having the employees do.
Well, it's very similar to, I mean, I'd mentioned with the CSOs, you know, a big portion of that process is just going to be asking the community, what's important to you? Right. You know, if we're going to, you know, okay, we have 4 employees, but they still have limits on the amount of stuff that they can actually do and be effective. If we're going to focus limited resources on doing something, we want to make sure we're focusing on the things that are most important, because, you know, we talk about it in strategic planning. There's a million things that we could do as a community, but we should only focus on the 5 things that everybody here agrees on, because those are the things that are going to be most powerful. So,
I agree.
Veterans Day, some planning went on today. I think both VFW and the Legion are going to have an absolutely fantastic program for Veterans Day. It's actually going to be, Veterans Park's going to be designated on Veterans Day, so not on the Monday observation, but on actually November 11th, Sunday, and I forget the time.
2 o'clock.
2 o'clock. So we'll get, Kevin was there today, so he's going to be getting out information to people, letting them know. It's really going to be neat. If you've had a chance to go over and check this out, I truly think, and you know, Nate and I talk about it, I think it's the nicest one I've ever seen. But
I'll second
I
that.
think the true report is what Nate got, is he went and asked the employees. The people who are building this build these all the time, and they said, this is the nicest one we've ever built. And the veterans groups see that too.
Rich Daniel, the commander at the VFW, says, I go to a lot of these all across the country, and he said, I think this will be the nicest.
Yep.
So,
Well,
when I heard that, I went, oh, that means something.
Well, and to me, there's two things. It's sort of like our community center. You can build a facility, but if you're not sort of doing the programs to bring people together, then you're not really accomplishing what you need to, because facilities and monuments and all that can only do so much. To me, what's been as rewarding of a process in this is to see the VFW and the Legion really working together to really develop something that's nice. And I think this process is also going to make for real strong veterans organizations in our community, and I think already started talking about that's a really nice park over there. There's some real opportunities for programming and for ongoing things that are going to continue to bring awareness to veterans issues, which like challenge coins. We'll hear a little bit more about that on November 11th, but it's really neat.
Well, and speaking of the challenge coin, and I think I got this somewhat close, but I know there's going to be some stuff coming out, but if you have a military challenge coin and would like to share it and display it at the columns at the memorial, contact our Park and Rec staff, Mary Monteith to be exact, probably is the best way, but we have to catalog them, and then I think she'll write a little history about it, because I know they're going to do a lot of stuff online about that people have an opportunity to do things. So they're looking for people to share their challenge coins, and they'll put them in the columns, and then they'll change them once or twice a year, so you'd always get them back. But I know that's kind of the next thing right now that's starting to get put out there and I think, does that sound about right?
Yep. So, and getting to that online piece is, I don't know if you heard in Minnesota, sort of I think it was called the Vietnam Project, or where they were trying to collect stories. I think it was NPR that was doing it, collect stories of veterans and their stories from Vietnam, so that they could really create sort of this catalog of stories to really get the essence of what people's experiences were there. The real hope with this is that over time that we sort of create this momentum to be able to have people really seek out to share their challenge coins, and even if they don't display them, to have this online picture, put their story in, so that over time this story grows. And we capture all these stories before they're lost, and then have a permanent record of that going into the future, because at the end of the day, that's the abstract. Well, it's not the abstract thing. It's abstract for people who weren't in the service, but it's not abstract for the people who were in it. And for them to be able to share that story and the community to understand it, I think brings that just a little bit closer.
And just for anyone that's really curious, they're trying to keep that program 20 minutes just because we have no idea what the temperature is going to be that day. We're hoping as cold as it is now, we're going to get that warm spell. And but just to touch a little bit, there's going to be just basically opening it up, a few speakers. I'm going to read a proclamation. The commander of the VFW and the Legion will speak, and then Dan Tigwell, the county administrator, what's the county?
Veteran Service.
Veteran Service. Tingwall?
Yep.
Is going to be the guest speaker. But then I think we kind of worked it out today, but I think it'll be kind of neat, because then at that point they'll raise the American flag, and then they'll play the song for each branch, and they have vets from each one of those organizations, and they'll be raising those flags. So it'll give people an opportunity to know which branch song is their branch song. There's some confusion sometimes.
Sometimes when those first notes start to hit, depending on who's playing it.
So that was something that got worked out today, and I thought that that, I think that'll be pretty neat, because we were trying to debate how we do that. Do you try to raise the American flag and all those at the same time, and now you don't have to worry about them all coming up at the same time, and I think this will be pretty neat, so.
But it's also sort of a history lesson too, because they're gonna play them in the order that they were established, give the dates at which they were established, so that people can get a sense of, you know, people have this image of the military just started, but I mean, the Air Force was part of the Army until after World War II. And so I don't think people, you know, recognize that it's not like we've always had all these, you know, that, you know, if you ask Rich Daniels, he'll say the Army was started and then everything else stopped. But, you know, there's a story to each of those, and I think this will be an education piece for people too.
And I've been taking photos of the progress of the development, and it's just, I enjoy personally just looking at them from when they first broke ground to where it's going now. It's absolutely beautiful.
I think the flagpoles went in today. Brian Jung said they're hoping to finish the trails before the week's out. They got to do some etching yet, and
Then there'll be sodding too.
And then, yeah, the trees are mostly planted
Oh,
now.
they did already? Good, okay.
The archery range is done. Is that open? Anybody know?
I don't think so.
I don't think it's.
I think the whole park is still closed down.
But that is, I mean, that's completed minus the targets at this point?
Oh,
Oh, there's a railing missing?
John Edberg wants to talk to you.
But anyways, so just watch for, we're gonna try to get the local paper to do an article about it and talk about it, and then just see some things in the paper and do some, Mary Monte's gonna work with them and and Kevin about getting it through the social media and stuff like that. But mostly it's just, we need people to spread the word, because no matter how many things you put it out in, somebody's gonna miss it and say, I wished I would've. So any opportunity you get to share, please do so.
Definitely will.
November 11th at 2 o'clock.
I think that'll be interesting, you know, kind of an interesting aspect to it is this challenge coin thing, because typically those just aren't handed out for the
Right.
heck of it, you know, they all have stories, and
They-
that's why we want to
they
collect
did a
those
little-
stories behind them, and
Have you ran that promo that you guys did over there?
Yeah, we're still working on that one.
Okay, I mean, because Rich Daniels and Steve LaSalle and Jack Metzger all put their coins out and talked about their story behind it. It was really interesting to.
right, and so it'll be interesting to see just how that grows over time.
Yeah, because it sort of makes it a living memorial.
Right.
You know, the one thing that they ran into that I thought was sort of interesting is that the challenge coins only really sort of came about after, or during Korea and afterwards. And so World War II veterans, that really wasn't a thing. And so I know Marshall has been working with them to talk about ideas about how we can sort of use this as an opportunity to get World War II veterans challenge coins. So there's a challenge coin that is actually being minted now. I think Marshall mentioned it a couple meetings ago. That's going to commemorate this Veterans Memorial. And I think they all have like serial numbers around them or something like that. But to really encourage family members of World War II veterans, this Christmas, order one for your service member and present it to them so that they have it, and then that might be an opportunity for them to be able to share their story on there too. Then the only other thing I have is I mentioned the living legend, Luke Melkert. If you saw the article that was in the paper this last week, the one thing I wanted to just really mention, because you guys see him once every couple weeks. Unfortunately, we have to see him every day. But just kidding.
No, you don't.
Yeah. Luke is truly an institution within the community. I don't think people recognize how much of an impact he's had on the community and what it looks like today. The paper talked about the trail system and how he went out and acquired the property to be, that we used for sewer, but really sort of had the idea that came out there and say, well, geez, if we have to put roads down here for sewer, we might as well make them trails. Well, now it's like the nicest trail system in the entire state. And
we're going back there and finding there's a post up there and there's a post there, and we got to build it in the middle.
Yeah.
That's how we did it.
Absolutely. And I mean, it's You know, and if you look at probably, you know, we always talk about the curling center, the community center. Our number one asset that people talk about the most is our trails.
Yep.
And, I mean, that's directly attributed, you know, we have, you do the insurance now, I think it's 80 miles of trails.
It's up around that.
Yeah, 80 miles of trails in the community. That is just absolutely amazing. And that's not including the Jonathan trails, and that's not including the regional trail systems that we have going through the community. So, you know, we probably have close to 100 miles of trails.
Or the illegal bike trail.
What's that? Or the illegal bike trail too, that's right. But obviously, that's not the only thing. I think also of, you know, we talk about what started downtown Chaska being able to focus on redeveloping was a flood control project. Well, somebody had to go after and actually acquire all the property for this. I think, was it like 80 or 90 parcels that needed to be acquired? I only know because when I was an intern, they made me organize the files. And, you know, that was 20 years ago, but I remember that was really not a very fun job. But I got to learn a lot about the history of Chaska and see what Luke worked on for a very long time to allow the flood control project going. And besides that, he is just institutional knowledge, you know, so many times when you try to talk to people about things, you have to give them the context of the situation. And you know, with Luke, it's exactly the opposite. He gives you the context of the situation. You know, you think, man, this is a terrible issue, and man, we're so unlucky that this happened now. And he'll say, well, geez, this has happened like 5 times in my career. You know, it's you know, it sort of puts it in perspective that. You know, puts it in perspective that, you know, the things that we deal with, it's cyclical. And he knows the history of all that. And probably the final thing is he's just an absolutely fantastic person that has a complete dedication and passion for Chaska. He told me that he moved here in 1968 and still feels like he's an outsider. You know, so you know, he, you know, came to the community, made it his home, made it the place where he raised his family and his wife as a teacher, and has been completely committed to the community ever since. So I thought it was really neat that the paper did a story on Luke, and it was very well deserved.
I was very happy to see that they took a photo of you, Luke, in your Christmas
in May,
shirt. That thing could almost stand up by itself. There's so much paint on it.
Someday we're going to frame that and put it in City Hall when you're long gone.
You should put some addresses.
So you better order the frame. No.
We'll put some addresses by each of those colors, because he's got a color from every house.
On top of all that, Luke, how long have you been a member of the Lions as well?
Lions?
Yeah.
Since 1968.
Wow, that's fabulous.
Actually, I joined in Waconia, and, you know, 3 months later, I transferred it over here.
Okay.
Not just to mention the work that you've done with the Fort Worth and for the city, a lot of work and time spent in the community, Christmas in May, Lions Club.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of service to this community.
But you do it because you like it, and the people here are likable people.
Yep.
And, I mean, one of the reasons that I've stayed here so long is, I thank God you didn't fire me or anything. But, I mean, the council, I think I've added up once, in 50 years, there's only been like 30 council members. And that's incredible, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, to me, it's not a good old boys club. It's a dedicated people who are interested in their community, and if you guys, and the council's always, like I said in the paper, I can count on less than 2 hands the number of times the council made a political decision. And generally, they came around and bit you in the rear end. And, you know, I mean, you literally made thousands of decisions in 50 years. And if you do it based upon good sound planning, engineering, and then what's in the best interest of the city of Chaska.
That's right.
This is what you got. And the council's been that way all, you know, and it's kind of, one of the really good councilmen was what is his name? What was his name? He's in jail now.
Castleberry?
Castleberry, yeah. He was really a good council person. You know, unfortunately.
Except for that minor thing.
Except
He
for
was
that minor
really-
thing. But when he sat over there and voted on things and discussed things, he did it like a good citizen of Chaska and made good decisions. But it's really been interesting. It's been fun. It's been challenging. And like I said, I tell everybody, if you got to live in Minnesota and you can't live in Minnetonka, this is the best place in Minnesota to live.
Wait, would you choose Minnetonka over Chaska if you could afford it?
Well, that's a low question.
The only thing we're missing, I think, is really a nice lake.
Big lake,
You know,
yeah.
that
I'll
would
give you
really
that.
be
The
nice.
river doesn't quite do it?
Not quite.
Yeah.
It's too bad we can't use it as.
I'd like
a
to
real
capture
ag.
that a little more, yeah.
I think it would be nice if we could somehow develop our.
We would have, but somebody built a flood control
Right,
project.
yeah. I suppose it is more important than
We have any sand pits around here we could sell?
No, but it's been a,
Yeah.
getting back to I just want to back up a little bit. When you're talking about the Veterans Park and the stories, I wish you could have been around here and listened I wish Roger Winkle was still alive yet. I spent he was in World War II, and he took about 4 hours to tell me this story, how when he got into Berlin, his company was in charge of where the railroad, the subway went. And they came upon a blown out wall, which might have been a bank vault or that. And so here they found a little over $1 million in marks, put it in his duffel bag, and he went on for like 4 hours telling him how they tried to spend it, what they could do, but spoils of war, you couldn't do anything like that. And finally one day, some guy went to get a haircut, and he took some money and it spent. And so all he did, they put this duffel bag by the city company clerk's office, or the desk, when anybody went out for R&R or anything like that, they just stuck their hand down there and filled their pockets with Deutschmarks. And then he was coming back to the United States, and he was carrying this duffel bag. They figured there was about $800,000 left in there. He saw this whack coming down, and he gave her a turn and said, "Have a good time." But it took him 4 hours to tell me this story. You know, everything they did, you know, and talk about a challenge thing or whatever, they have a story. It was just,
Wow.
they could have made a movie out of it, just fantastic. But again, thank you, and like I said, it's been a great run for me, and I enjoy it, and hopefully you guys don't enjoy me a little bit.
You know, I was just gonna say, and the one thing you kinda miss though, but you're just a good friend, Luke.
Yep.
And I think that's important,
Yep.
and that's probably why your longevity at this position and everything you're in is there for that reason too, so thank you for that.
Yeah,
There's good people in Chaska.
it's a good
Thank you.
community.
All right, Matt, you hogged up all the time. Luke, did you have anything else to add?
I said everything now.
All right.
I figure if I say everything, I can control what you guys,
Exactly.
the amount you
My
guys say.
my list is pretty small though. Mr. Bolt.
Absolutely. Well, Curling Night in America, Matt already covered that, but it was, it's nice to see that starting now, and for those who miss it, like you say, after the first of the year, they do it again. I actually went and upgraded my cable package just so that I could watch Curling Night in America, so we're going to be ready for the winter here.
I recorded it.
See?
It's
Oh,
great.
did you?
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
so.
I've rewatched it a few times, yeah, it's fun, yeah.
So I also wanted to let folks know, Matt missed something, so I get to share
I
the
did.
fact that the Fall Cleanup Day is coming up on Saturday, October 27th. And that will be in the parking lot of Athletic Park, and people can bring it down from, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m., I
Yep.
believe it is. It is brush and yard waste, grass clippings, leaves, etc. No appliances, no electronics, no trash, no plastic bags. It has to be in compostable paper bags. I believe they can bring it in a plastic bag, but they have to dump the contents out and take the bag home with them. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
And I think the Jonathan Association usually goes around on Friday, the day before, and will pick up those types of materials from the curbside of the homes in the Jonathan Association and brings it down on Saturday, if I recall. But
Yep, which, it reminds me we should have him advertise it a little bit, because it also does help us control crowds. too, but it's
Absolutely.
really sort of a nice service. I mean, 3,000 of our households are in Jonathan, and I actually didn't even realize that till last year. I saw these big trailers coming down, and I thought it was like contractors dumping their garbage down there. I'm like, what are you guys doing? And then they said they were from Jonathan. They actually pick it up at your house and put it in a trailer and take it down and dump it for you. So it's sort of a nice service.
It is, absolutely. And that is, like you say, spring and fall, and it's a wonderful service for our residents here. And I think that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Councilmember Schultz?
Nothing. Can't, most of the topics have been hit on and can't really follow that up. So I'll leave it.
One thing I just did think of that Matt and Councilmember Schultz both ran in marathon recently, both finished.
Yeah. One of us did good.
And I believe Mr. Cabot, he ran the 10?
I only did 10, yep.
Only.
Yep.
Only
At
10.
that.
But congratulations to you guys for
Yeah,
that.
good job.
Yeah.
All right, need anything?
The Jack-o'-lantern Trail O Fun.
I had that. I
I
couldn't think of the
stole it
name
from
of
you,
it.
huh?
Good. Keep
October
whittling my list
19th,
down.
so it's this Friday at 6 p.m. at Athletic Park. So if you want to go see some
It's this Friday.
jack-o'-lanterns and have some fun, yep, this Friday. Yep.
Okay.
So there'll be all sorts of activities going on, and I got to go last year for my first time and bring my girls, and it just gets packed. was
It
fun.
is
We had a really
amazing
good
how many
time.
people are
I
there.
bet you there's more people than touch a truck there.
And I don't know where
Yeah.
it's, because you don't see that much on the advertising of,
Yeah.
first year I never saw anything, and everybody says, well, did you go there? I go, to what?
Yeah.
So,
But,
but
you know,
I
from
went
my
last year.
perspective, the greatest thing about it is you get them inside that baseball diamond, and the kids
Oh.
just run around. You know,
It's like a big playpen.
They come home tired and sleep for hours on end. So there's a reward to the parents too.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, anything else?
Mr. Mayor?
That's all. I've
Yes.
I did forget one last thing, and that is I've heard a few people asking where we're at with the hotspot, because they thought that would be coming down by now, and it hasn't yet. So I wonder if we could get an update real quick.
Nate?
You know, they keep going through the process. I know they're working to get their demolition permit, and they are working with our building inspections department to complete that process. So I know there's a couple items that they've been working on relating to the environmental cleanup side of things. So we had done quite a bit of work on the hotspot site itself, but it's the rest of the site that the developer is including in the project. They've got to dot some T's and cross some I's. There's that.
And soils conditions too. They're finding that
That's
they're having to
what I
do
said.
some geopiers because
Remediation.
it blows my mind that buildings could sit on there for 50 years and the soil wouldn't be compact enough to put a building on it. I think litigation has taken over for engineers, that they're unwilling to sign plans if there's any issues. So they're having to do some geopiers, which is unfortunate from their standpoint, but you know, they have to do it, and that takes a little bit more time to put together too.
So is there any chance that this is gonna happen in October? I mean, I've been kinda hearing the same thing, and it's just like I'm
keeps
getting
getting
tired
more.
of,
Yeah.
I can't answer it.
Keep
Any
telling
minute
people,
now.
yeah, it's coming.
And we're past any minute. I mean, this is like any time this year. That's the
God grant
frustrating.
us the wisdom to control the things we can control.
I mean, I know it's not our deal, but holy cow.
Yeah.
Just say the serenity prayer.
That's
and,
right.
you know.
At least tear the buildings down, then I don't care what you do. Just get rid of that eyesore.
Yeah.
All right, anything else, Nate?
Thanks for letting me jump in with that, by the way, Mr. Mayor.
No.
You're
nothing
good,
else.
you're
I'm
good. There's just two things I gotta bring up. This Wednesday is the League of Women Voters Candidate Forum here at 7 o'clock. I think it's Wednesday.
Yep.
So that will be live, I believe, and then it will be broadcast at other times as well. So 7 o'clock, and that is for all of the Chaska City Council. It's just the city council, so it'll be the mayor and the two ward spots, first and third. So 7 o'clock. And then one thing, just a comment, that we discussed it, but I bet people missed it, maybe didn't, But on County Road 15, which is on the east side of town, the big grassy area by the diversion creek, has been, we talked about it, it's been sprayed and it's all turning brown.
It's been killed.
It's been killed, so, and then
Purposely.
it's going to be replanted with prairie grass and wildflowers, or prairie grass?
Both.
Both. So if you're wondering out there what's going on there, why did everything turn brown?
Native prairie grass.
Yeah.
wildflowers,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Low maintenance, pollinator friendly, all that stuff.
Yeah, it's
So that's
actually
what's
might be
happening.
the largest pollinator. You know, I heard the city of Stillwater 3 weeks ago were on WCCO for putting this small pollinator garden in downtown Stillwater. I mean, theirs was probably as big as this council bench. Ours is gonna be like 25 acres.
Not quite that.
But, yeah, it does two things. In the long run, it significantly decreases our cost for maintenance of that area.
Yep.
And the second thing is it's gonna look really nice. So a good example of where people could look at where we've done something similar is on the hillside below the community center. The fire department burns that every year. It took a while to get it established, but it really looks nice now. Town course, we do the same thing in the wild areas. And then the other one we're working on right now is, if you looked at our water treatment plant, there's grass areas on top of the detention takes. Looks terrible now because we killed the grass on top of it, but I thought that,
Matt talked about that when we were here.
did he? Okay, I thought he made a really good point is why are we putting fertilizer on top of a water detention tank? And not that there was any danger, but it's just a perception thing.
Sure.
And so put it natural there, so.
Perfect.
Can I ask one last thing? Thank you. Matt, I've seen signs in the neighborhood, something, part of Clover Ridge Drive is going to close for a short while. Can you?
Yeah, you know, I don't know for sure what it is. I've asked the question too, but I think what it is that, what's the date tomorrow?
Today's the 15th.
So it's on the 19th.
Okay.
Which, is that Friday?
I'm not sure
There's
without
a
my
section
calendar.
right next to,
19th is Friday.
There's a section of road right next to the football fields, and I saw that they marked a water valve there. I think they have a leaky water valve that they need to dig up and fix. And, I mean, it takes them a couple hours to do. They'll mark it as closed, but they won't do it until after school has started.
Middle of the day.
And they'll be done before school is finished. And there's plenty of alternative routes around there.
Exactly, okay.
So.
And they pave that up again when it's done, or patch it
Yep,
up? Okay,
absolutely.
perfect,
Yep.
thank you.
Right.
It's actually a new sewer line that's going in because the area they're working on, it used to be,
because of the
was
homes
originally
instead of
intended for
townhomes?
townhomes.
Oh, yeah.
And now a new developer's coming in, so
That's the
they're
ones that
adding
became
sewer
the
service.
single-family homes.
Yeah, they've got to make infrastructure changes, I suppose, okay.
Sure glad you're here.
Well, you know,
What a knowledgeable
now I have
resource.
a
You're a
reason to be
knowledgeable
here, I
guy.
guess.
Yeah,
What a
and your
knowledgeable
name
resource.
is? So you're up in the mic
Yes,
there.
Kevin Wright.
Okay, very good.
Thank God it's not Kevin Ron.
That's right.
But boom.
Yeah. And with that, I would, last call,
Yeah.
entertain a motion.
Wait, I will ask the question. It's just a short closure, right? Because there's a lot of people in the Clover Ridge neighborhood, so it's probably good to.
Well, we will be posting something on this in the next day or two. It is, the closure will take about a week to perform the work and fully restore.
Oh.
Wow, okay. Good thing we have
So
alternate
no
routes
open
around.
trenches will be left overnight, but the roadway will remain closed.
I live really close to there. That doesn't sound very good.
Well,
Maybe you are Kevin wrong.
yeah, well,
You hope he is.
well, yeah, you know, it's better to err on the side of length than to say it's
I'll say
gonna
it'll
be.
be closed a week and have it open in 3 days. and
Well,
then
that's
a
I mean,
year.
I could have said it was just gonna be closed for a few hours. And
Don't worry
it was
about it.
just
when he said
a
sewer
leaky
line,
main.
I'm like, sewer lines
Yeah.
don't usually take a couple hours
Yeah,
to,
that's a
to
little more
install,
than,
so.
more than the gate valve.
Luckily, they're, you know, they know in advance, and there are a lot of ways to get in and out of the neighborhood. So.
Yeah, and I think there is another, just a kind of a crescent-shaped road.
Yeah, my
That's
road.
right. Yeah, your road.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's a good shortcut we can all use there.
Yeah.
One
And there
more.
will be I don't know all the details yet, but after that work is done, there will be a closure, I think, on the detour route road based on that construction.
Okay.
But we'll put something out on that as well.
Thank you. It's great to have a communications.
Yeah, no kidding. He really knows what's going on.
Thank
Should
you.
probably talk to him before I
Finger on
come
the
to these
pulse.
meetings.
Yeah, you should get informed.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
All right, anyone else? Otherwise, I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Councilmember Bose, second by Councilmember Schultz to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Post same sign. We are adjourned. We'll see you October 29th, 7 o'clock.